What's good, YouTube? You're back on S Motorsports. Today we're making progress on the Trans Am LQ4 build. As you can see, I already did some painting, but it's time to throw some new parts on it. Alright guys, like I said, I kind of already painted the engine bay. I did take some clips of that. I was going to make a video of it, but I had some sound quality issues, and just looking at some of the footage, I figured it was going to be pretty boring. So I didn't want to put you guys through that. I will give you an overview of what I did for the paint job on the engine bay. It turned out pretty decent. Obviously it's not professional, but it definitely looks way better than it did. And then today I want to actually just throw some new parts on, as I can finally make some progress putting stuff on instead of taking stuff off. So let's take a look what I did. Cue the flashback of some old footage.
Flashback.
So what I'm going to attack today is I'm going to try and hit the really rusty areas with the not 415 chassis saver. And then I do want to hit these frame pieces as well, get those coated so I can get the fenders back on. And I am going to paint the engine bay body color, so I'm going to get some paint mixed up for the original color for this car. Eventually I would like to paint the outside of the car, but that might not happen for a little bit, but I want to make sure the engine bay matches that same color, original color, when the time comes. So I'm gonna just kind of dive in, start sanding. Like I said, I'm gonna try and hit those areas, get that all prepped, and then yeah, it's gonna take a while, but let's just have at her. All right guys, so I got everything masked off. Like I said, I'm painting this fender area on both sides. I got it masked off. I'm gonna hit it with some of this Rust Performer first, and then I have a relatively closely matched red paint that I'm going to cover this up with to get it close, as obviously the fender covers this up. So yeah, let's just have it, see what it looks like. Alright guys, so now this coat of the Rust Performer is dry. So now I'm going to shoot it with, this is what I found that seemed like it closely matched the original paint, or it's pretty dang close. It's just a Rust-Oleum, but it's Sunrise Red, which the color code on my car is called Blaze Red. But this is a pretty close match, so you know, this area obviously you're not going to see. This is just to protect this area, but I am going to use, if it's pretty dang close match, I'm going to use this for maybe some of the front areas as well, just because this is way cheaper than like the single stage paint that I'm looking at getting for the actual true Blaze color code. So like in the inconspicuous areas, I was planning on using this. So let's shoot this with red and see what it looks like. All right guys, we're back. I kind of did some things off camera, but I got the engine bay mask primered up. I used this red rust color, as hopefully that covers, or the red covers a little better over that. I'm using some new audio equipment as well. Let me know what you guys think, if the sound quality is better or worse. I've done some testing, and I don't know if I'm super happy with the sound quality, as it's kind of a cheap unit, but let me know what you guys think. We will be spray painting the engine bay, call it stock color, Pontiac 75, which is a Blaze Red for this car. It's going to look really bright compared to the actual outside car paint, as it's custom faded on the exterior, but I'm going to use this, as this is a pretty close match to the Blaze Red from what I found in like some of the front areas that don't really require, you know, good paint, and some of the tunnel area with this, just because you're never going to see it. So I'm going to set you up in a time lapse, and let's just have at her And after that, we're gonna spray some clear as well. Hopefully this thing is looking mint.
End of flashback.
Alright guys, like I said in maybe some of the other clips, I don't know if it'll make it in there, but this is the paint that I used, this just Rust-Oleum. It is Sunrise Red for mainly this front area, and that turned out pretty good. It is a pretty close match. This is actually a little bit glossier. And then otherwise I use this Automotive Touch-Up base color. I got Pontiac 75, which, a few notes. You know, this paint isn't necessarily cheap. It is like $28 a can. And for that price, I figured it would work better. The spray tip on this thing is probably the worst spray tip that I've ever used. It fans out good, but I was having tons of issues of it, you know, spitting and getting globs of paint everywhere. Royally pissed me off. I mean, this $6 can of Rust-Oleum worked 10 times better, sprayed better. Not very happy with this. Eventually I do want to paint the outside of this car as well. And you know, the color is a good match, I will say that. But I will not get it in aerosol cans. I would definitely get it in normal, you know, liquid paint and spray it with a gun, as this was a pain in the butt. And I do have some extra to do some fenders and stuff, but also like the pressure it took to push the nozzle was ridiculous. Like this was normal, I'd call it. Like I was like doing finger workouts.
That's what she said.
Trying to spray this can down, it was a mess. So that was another reason why I didn't want to include it, because it was just kind of a crapshoot of a video. So with that said, let's take a look at how it turned out. Bringing you in close here, you can see it turned out pretty decent. I mean, I'm honestly pretty happy with it. It looks fairly good. I ended up painting the cowl there black with just, you know, a Rust-Oleum flat or medium gloss paint. I took the mounts off and everything because this was one of the main rusty areas. I again hit this cross member with just Rust-Oleum black, you know, farm paint, and I brushed it on there, which brushing worked better for that area, I thought. You know, I hit the steering column, I masked everything off, which that was a task in itself. I mean, the paint is definitely not perfect, and it's not gonna show up on camera, I guess. It looks better on camera, but you know, I tried to hit everything. This was not even painted, as you maybe saw in the video. I hit this with the Rust-Oleum. Again, it is not perfect, but really this is covered up by the fenders, and it wasn't even painted from the factory anyways. And same with this front area. This stuff wasn't even really painted from the factory, so I hit that just to protect it a little bit more. This cross member, if you saw in some of the clips I inserted, was destroyed. I mean, so I hit that with that chassis saver and covered that with, again, this is the Rust-Oleum paint. I did kind of maybe coat it with the other paint to make it match a little better. But if we take a look at maybe like the firewall here and the rest of the car, it's a pretty close match. I'm honestly pretty happy. This is like, call it a little less glossy than the car. Obviously custom faded. I did hit the, you know, the main areas with a clear coat, probably like 2 coats, some areas maybe a little bit more, but honestly pretty happy. This area, I didn't cut this out and redo that. My battery tray covers that whole area, covered that with chassis saver. That's pretty solid now. So really the goal for today is to start getting parts back in. One thing I will say is this spray painting just the engine bay made a total mess of my garage. Look at this. I mean, most of that's like dust, so it'll come off. But my goal for today, it's really nice outside, is to get the mounts on first, the steering shaft, as I took the steering gear out, and get that all put back in, as I want to push both cars out, and I want to scrub the garage floor, as yeah, it's the red dust is everywhere, overspray, it's ridiculous. So that's my goal for today. So I don't know how far I will get putting parts on today, but this video is going to be just me kind of putting stuff in and getting the car a little bit back together, getting ready to put the LQ4 in. So if we pan over to my messy table here, so if we take a look on my bench here of what I got, what's going to be going in, like I said, first off, we got to get the mounts back in. And so what I picked up is some Founders, you know, strut tower mounts, as I'll pull up a factory one, but the factory ones were, I think, original, and they're pretty shot. So I think this is definitely going to make a big difference in the handling department, as we got a solid mount versus that rubber factory one. We got, as build season would say, a freshly refurbished steering gear. As you can see, it's freshly refurbished. Some new hardware, as the stock ones were pretty bad. If I grab one quick, you can see, so these bolts are just, you know, slightly different, but if you can see, I wasn't happy with the amount of rust. It's like they're almost necking down. These are pretty thin here. So I got some new hardware, grade 8, that's what this was, so we don't have any issues. Also, you know, my old engine mounts, these are, you know, the normal small block Chevy ones, and I got the poly mounts on there from the last engine, so I'm reusing these. And then also, I picked up a new steering shaft. So this is one out of a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I don't know, the years seem like the years are kind of not really accurate, I will say, because I did buy a different one and it was way too long. This one seems like it should work. So this one is, I'll put a link in the description. I think I got this on Amazon, but it is, call it 1/2 inch too long, but it will work if I put this in while I'm putting the steering gear in. So that's kind of a pain in the butt, that if you wanted to remove it, you'd have to remove the steering gear to get the steering shaft out, but I think it's going to be okay. And the point of this steering shaft is that it still has a rubber isolator in between here to help dampen the vibrations. I did install the Astrovan steering shaft, which I'll put a link up in the description, and that one worked good, except when you were turning at like low speed and stuff, you could hear the like noise of the steering gear. You could hear like the fluid whine coming through the shaft, since there was no isolation. So I'm hoping this is a little better than the Astrovan and better than the stock one, because the stock one is kind of junk. So hopefully that works good as well. And then I have some other trinkets as well that I'll maybe point out as I'm installing them from Classic Industries, some new rubber bumpers and stuff like that. So we got a bunch of stuff to install, so let's have at her. I'm gonna set you up on the tripod, and we're just gonna have at her installing these parts so we can get the car and the garage floor washed up from all the overspray. Okay guys, so I got the Founders Performance strut tower mounts installed. I did want to note that I am going to be using this QA1 like spacer. It's basically a, I don't even know, concave spacer, so that the rod or the shock has full movement with this solid strut mount type versus the rubber can just flex. So this allows full movement. So it's a little bit of a spacer. It might be a little bit of a challenge to get that down far enough with no weight in here. We'll see how that goes. Alright guys, so it's been a little bit. If I look a little bit tan, I did go on a vacation. So yeah, I got a little crispy. But so I got the Founders Performance strut mounts on. I got those all taken care of. I did have to not put on the lock nut, or not lock nut, the lock washer on the strut mount. Otherwise I wasn't gonna have enough threads. So I just, with that spacer, so I just put blue Loctite on the nut and ran that in. That should be fine. So now I'm on to putting the motor mounts back on, reusing the hardware. So gonna put some blue Loctite on these as well. Get these mounted in the new holes that I drilled a while back. I have to drill a hole to mount the brake line. I had to push that out of the way to get these installed. Just maybe tidy up a few more things on the car. Let's see what we can get done. I might start disassembling the engine as well to get that prepped, ready to go. Obviously we're a little ways out yet because I have to do the shift kit, but really after that, the engine's going in. So I'm just trying to do little stuff here and there as I'm not quite ready to dive into the transmission yet. So yeah, let's have at her. Alright guys, I got the motor mounts on. I got my brake line secured as well. I got my brake booster mounted. I didn't show that. Maybe I'll have to show a clip of that where I mounted it. I think it works pretty good. But now I'm going to start disassembling the engine, getting the intake off, getting all the accessories off, getting it ready to be able to be put in, get the lift plate on, get all that ready to go. So just something small, but gonna knock it out right now. All right guys, so I got the engine broken down. I got the water pump off, trying to make it easier to, slip into the engine bay, got all the accessories off. I will take the spark plugs out and probably this coolant sensor. I think I should be able to leave this stuff on. I got the lift plate mounted. This is my old small block Chevy one, which actually works pretty good.
good. That should work good. I don't need an LS1. Don't have to buy that anyways. So this is kind of ready to go. Pretty simple. I'll show you. I got, like I said, the motor mounts on. I had to get the brake line clipped up here. I think we're ready to go. I did mount my brake booster here. There's a little bracket that I drilled some holes and just mounted this canister. I did have it up here in the engine bay. This will work good. The lines can come up here and go. I probably am not going to need it with this engine. I should hopefully make a little bit more vacuum than the old 350, but it's kind of like I have it. Why not use it? It's only going to help improve the braking. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Getting most things ready. I do have to drill a hole yet, which I'll probably just do that sometime. A 2-inch hole. What my plan is to drill 2-inch hole right here for the wire harness, and as I'm going to mount the ECU and call it the stock location where the old ECU was for this car, or PCM, I'll come through here, can come up at the back of the engine, and then obviously all the wires are going to go to the injectors and stuff where they need to go. And like I said, hopefully the next video will be working on the transmission, getting that shift kit in, and that will be ready to go. And then I can basically start mating these two together and get this engine installed. That's it for today. A little video showing some progress on the Trans Am, as I do want to get that shift kit installed. I got some seals and a new filter, getting that freshened up a little bit. And hopefully, you know, then it's getting those two mated together, the engine and transmission, so we can start throwing it in the Trans Am and really making some progress. So yeah, stay tuned guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.